It's the Puck Boys Fantasy Hockey Podcast with James.
Welcome, Puck Boys.
Derek.
I'm looking forward to looking like Phil for the rest of my life.
Spencer.
He's an asshole, but goddamn, I would love to meet that guy.
And Matt.
All right, welcome to episode 4 of the Puck Boys Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about your draft. We're going to be talking about ways to make your draft more fun. We're going to be talking about some draft etiquette. We're going to be talking about ways not to piss off all of your friends. And then after we get through that nonsense, we're going to be talking about players on new teams, guys who switched cities in the offseason, and guys who could be seeing an uptick in production because of that, or guys who, could be going down in your rankings. So, James, let's kick it off. What is your favorite part about draft day?
Draft day is like Christmas morning. And when you get the steal gift from one of your friends, it is so sweet.
I just love drafting. I could just draft all year long. I'll do so many mock drafts preseason. I'll do probably 30 mock drafts preseason, and I don't do them the whole way through. But, oh, man.
Are you currently drafting right now?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm on auto draft right now, though. I'm just looking at some stats shit.
Fuck auto draft, okay?
Well, I'm not auto drafting because I'm just saying, I just want to make sure that the computer picks me a good team. Anybody who auto drafts can go fuck themselves, honestly. If you're doing a league, even if you have no idea, don't auto draft. Don't be a dick. It's so annoying.
Don't join a league if you don't want to go to the draft.
So in my defense, all 4 of us are in the same keeper league, for those who don't know, and I was a late comer to this league. We had a guy who dropped out of the league, and he left his team open, and I was asked to join. Now, I didn't have a pick for the first 4 rounds, and I didn't really have any good keepers. I was also working in a different city at the time, so I auto-drafted. Now, yeah, sure, it might be inconvenient for you guys, but when I saw that the computer picked UC Jokinen as my first pick in the 5th round, it became very inconvenient for me. So for your own well-being and your own well-doing in the league, make sure you're there on draft day because the computer isn't always your friend.
At the very worst, if you can't be there on draft day, fill your queue up with the players that you want because at least you'll get those guys.
Yeah, another good thing about draft day is the food. You have to have good food. For me, it's pizza. I need pizza. It's easy. I can eat like 6 pieces in probably 5 minutes. It's probably unhealthy, but it fills you up, and then you don't have to worry about food. You can just focus on the draft.
Weird flex, but okay, Jim.
That being said, yeah, if you're going to be bringing food to the draft, the ultimate thing that we're talking about here is making sure you're drafting with your friends, with all the people that are in your league. Because it's just, there's nothing like doing that and seeing, like James said, seeing the expression on somebody's face when you've picked the guy that they've been just looking at. It's been in their queue for ages. They're like, oh yeah, I got time with this guy. I'll pick him a little bit later.
Heartbreak.
And it's because it happens to us. It happens to all of us. And it's the worst feeling. All you want to do is flip the computer over and say, fuck, I'm not even going to play this year. But when it happens, when you pick them, seeing your friend have like that, oh, yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good feeling.
One other thing that we want to talk about is draft day etiquette, because there's always the guy who shows up late without a charger, without a pen or a pencil, which, I mean, isn't as important now, but we've been doing drafts together for a while, and it was only about 5 years ago where you had to come up with your printed sheets of players, you had your 4 or 5 magazines, and there would be that guy who came in with nothing and would try to pick their guys off the top of their head. So what is some draft day etiquette that you think is important?
Number 1, actually do a mock draft. We do a lot of mock drafts. I do at least 1 a day up until our League of Record draft. So do mock drafts and make a watch list of all the players that you want.
I'm going to go ahead and say mock drafts would be number 2. Number 1, show up to the draft with your account information in hand. How many times we have people showing up looking for their password? Don't be that guy.
Just waterheads.
Waterheads.
Back in the day, we used to have to, pen and paper or put it in an Excel, and it used to take forever. Now we do online drafts through Yahoo, where you're given a select amount of time. So one of my big pet peeves is when someone takes forever to get one of the early picks out of the way. Okay? Late in the draft, I can understand. Take the 3 minutes or the 2 minutes or whatever time that's allocated for your pick. in the first couple rounds, you should know who you're about to pick.
And yeah, 2 to 3 minutes. If you're the commissioner and you're setting your draft picks at 2 to 3 minutes, you got to reconsider your options. You should be having a minute. A minute and a half is already too much. I feel like that's a ton. It does give you some more wiggle room because once you get a little bit deeper into the drafts, but I would say never exceed 1.5 minutes. 45 seconds, I believe, in my opinion, is the most ideal for draft time.
Agreed.
All right, so another point is that when you're in person with these guys, it kind of gives you another opportunity to, stack your strategic deck. One thing I like to do is talk up guys I have no intention of picking. Doesn't always work, but, it gets in their head a little bit. Another thing that you can do, I mean, we're in Canada. It's legal here. Bring a bunch of weed and don't smoke any.
Smart play.
Yeah, that's a good point, Max. I'll remember that at draft day. But you're right. Some people come and they're so excited about their draft, they start blabbing. They start talking about certain players that they like, certain people that they want. They get a little nervous and they just get a little jittery, right? Well, take advantage of that. Listen at your draft. Kind of sit in the corner, say hi, have a couple beers. Yeah, maybe smoke a little bit of weed. Maybe not too much, but listen to what people are saying, because the ADP is one thing, but if you know some people don't like some players and you're on the corner of a snake draft and you think you might be able to get a player in the next round if you wait on him, it's just strategy. Listen to the people around you and try and fuck them.
I'm not a complete dirtbag like James is.
I am.
But yeah, you want to listen to your other friends' opinions because when you're coming into the draft, chances are pretty high you should be researching certain players. If you're thinking pretty highly on somebody, let's say Cale Makar, because right now he's being ranked as a high rookie. But for those who aren't following hockey on a daily basis, that name may pass them being like, I've never heard that before, so they draft somebody who has a more familiar name. So you want to listen to your friends' insight because they're going to have different thoughts. They're going to be doing different research than you're doing. So yeah, I guess that's fucking them over, but just listen to people, man.
From a different perspective, if you're new to fantasy hockey, go to your draft. If you know nothing, you will learn something just by listening to people at a draft because everyone's shit-talking everyone. Some people have opinions. Some of them are very strong. Some of them are correct. Some of them are not correct. But you're going to learn either way. But if you go to a draft and at least there's some noise, it's better than if you're all by yourself in a dark room drafting all by yourself the very first time.
Yeah, and the reason we're doing this at the end of the day, no one is doing fantasy hockey because it's part of their retirement plan. We're not in it for money. We're in it to have a little bit of fun. And the funnest day of the year is going to be draft day.
I'm in it for the money, actually. I'm hoping to retire early, and if I do keep winning at this rate, I'm hoping by, 60, 70 years old, I will be able to retire strictly on fantasy winnings.
All right, go fuck yourself, Derek. And and just remember to have fun. And, if you're going to reach for a guy, but you really want that guy, go ahead and do it. If he has a name that you can make a pun out of for your team name, reach for that guy. But on the other side of that coin, if someone shows up to your draft in a Sidney Crosby jersey, you can bet he's going to try to draft Sidney Crosby. So if you can lunch cut him and take him, you could later in the year trade him Sidney Crosby for an extortionate price. This is the game we play.
I don't know how I feel about people wearing jerseys to drafts. When you see a guy coming in with their favorite player, their favorite team in a draft, and I got to admit, there's usually just one person who does it. I don't know. Maybe not the closest friend of the friend group.
You know what grinds my gears? It's when people have funny names that are associated with players, and that player isn't even on their team. Okay? That grinds my fucking gears. If you want to have a funny name like that, change your name after the draft, or make it neutral going into the draft, and then change your name after you know you got those players.
Just a little off topic, but yeah, those names, if you have somebody else's jersey and a different number. I played against a guy in hockey, and he had a Tampa Bay Lightning, number 86. He's wearing Cooch's number with his name on the back with a captain on the front. That guy can go fuck himself.
Yeah, go fuck yourself.
Small dick energy right there. So moving on. Let's talk about players on new teams. So, James, who's a guy who switched cities this offseason you think is going to do a lot better on their new team?
My man, PK Subban. He got traded from the Nashville Predators to the New Jersey Devils for 2 second-round picks and some prospect by the name of Steven Santini. Don't be fooled. This guy was not traded because he sucks. This guy was traded because Nashville did not want his $9 million cap hit. This guy is going to do much better in New Jersey, and I'll tell you why. Last year was probably his worst season. He had 31 points in 63 games. That's a .49 points per game. 2 seasons ago, not that long ago, 2 seasons ago, this guy was nominated for the Norris Trophy. PK Subban is the guy I would reach on a little bit. I think his value right now, he's a good 4th or 5th round pick. He's going to be playing with some really skilled guys. Taylor Hall, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes, Kyle Palmieri. He's going to be the number 1 guy in the power play. He's got a big shot. In Nashville, they had other defensemen there that did more. And I think he's going to take on a role like he had in Montreal. He's going to be the number 1 guy. He's going to feed off the energy. And he's going to be a guy that I think he's going to score, at least 10 goals, maybe 15. Let's see if he gets to 20. He's never done it, but he's scored 15 twice, and he had 14 one year. So this is a guy that can score goals. He's going to have the opportunity on the first unit power play. That's my man.
My guy that I'd be going with probably Artemi Panarin. And I've liked Artemi Panarin ever since he's been in the league. And I did draft him in his rookie season before he ever played a game. Ever heard of him? He has always done well. He's never had less than 70 points for each team he's played for. For a guy that's now playing for his 3rd team in the NHL for as little as 4 seasons, it doesn't even make any sense. He's just looking for that big, nice city like New York City, even though he was in Chicago, but that was a trade. But clearly nobody wants to be in Columbus. But Artemi Panarin, other than the fact that I bought a jersey when I was down in Chicago and thought, well, he's going to be here for a while. Nope. But I see him as going to New York as not only one of the better players who's going to turn them around, but the best player on that team now. So he's going to be playing with a guy like Mika Zibanejad. Capo Caco's coming in, and if he's capable of what he's doing, what he did over in juniors, Panarin's got a good guy to be playing alongside with. He's going to do it all year round.
Just generally on sports for a second. I mean, I think every city and every fan base and every team thinks that they are the most snake-bitten franchise and they're the most unlucky. But I don't think anybody can hold a candle to Ohio sports fans. Doesn't matter the league, doesn't matter the team. They are routinely the most screwed over because Columbus, they're finally looking good. And then all their best players pack up and leave in one offseason. So we're basically Canucks fans in this room, but I don't think we can hold a candle. But the funny thing is I have zero sympathy at all.
I just want to see Columbus do well once. Ever since I got that miniature little mug back in the day with the little Columbus logo on it in 2003, I've always been a fan. But you just can't watch those games without just cringing.
Rick Nash really brought me along for the Columbus ride. I thought Rick Nash was one of my favorite players growing up. The guy was an awesome goal scorer.
Legend.
He was exciting. He was exciting to watch, and the problem with that, though, is he did nothing in Columbus. It ended poorly in Columbus. And then he ended his career in Boston, but New York, right? He was in New York. And so that's kind of funny how all these players are leaving Ohio and going to the Big Apple. All right, Derek, who's a guy
getting back on track here, yeah?
Yeah, who's a guy that you're going to be taking on a new team?
There's a couple guys. Jacob Trouba, as Spencer was saying, playing with Panarin there. He'll be a good fit for sure. Not a lot to say about him. He had a career high in points last year. He's a good player, but what really matters is Phil the Thrill, the man himself, in Arizona. He's finally in a place where he has no pressure on him. There's no hockey market there. You could see a bit of regression, but he's Phil. He's going to be playing with Clayton Keller. Derek Stepan, other good players.
What number do you wear in hockey, Derek?
81.
And
81, actually.
Why do you wear number 81?
Phil the fucking thrill.
Do you also like hot dogs?
I do enjoy hot dogs.
Do you like cookies?
I do enjoy cookies.
Wow, you're like twins.
We're the same people, same shape. Just I got a bit more hair, but I'm looking forward to looking like Phil for the rest of my life.
I agree with you, Derek. Phil is the fucking thrill. And he's gonna do great. I'm high on him. I think I expect him to get at least 25 goals, 40 assists, 65 plus points. The guy's gonna shoot like 250, 300 times. His career average shooting percentage is 11%. That just means goals. I mean, but here's a question for you guys. If you're going to take him in the 5th round, which is where he's going, would you take Matthew Tkachuk, Alexander Radulov, or Mika Zibanejad over Phil Kessel?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a tough decision. That's when you want those 3-minute draft times.
Only person I may take over Phil there is Zibanejad because I know he's a beast. He's going to keep doing what he's doing, and he's got great guys around him. Other than that, I'm taking Phil, though.
I would be tinkering with Matthew Tkachuk because I feel like Matthew Tkachuk, the way he's ranked, it's pretty fair, but he could be up around. I would have a tough time with that one, but I think that I would probably choose Matthew Tkachuk over them.
I think he has great value for the 6th or 7th round. Phil, that is. So if people sleep on him, treat yourself to hot dog eating Phil and fill in your right wing spot, right? So
Fill in your right wing spot.
yeah. Another guy I want to talk about who's on a new team is Matt Duchene. Matt Duchene decided to sign with Nashville. Poor Ohio, poor Columbus. Again, one of those players that left Columbus and, looked towards him and went, no, I don't fucking like you. Nashville is a great team, and they are my pick to win the Stanley Cup, so just thought I'd throw that in there. Matt Duchene has never been on a good team. That Columbus team is probably the best team he's ever been on. He was on shitty Colorado teams. He was on Ottawa, for God's sake. And now he's finally going to be on a good team with support. Is Matt Duchene a great two-way player? Fuck no. But who cares? This is fantasy, okay? The guy scores goals. And last year, he scored 31 goals. That is the highest of his career. So a guy coming off a career high in goals, going to a good situation where he's going to be with wingers like Philip Forsberg. He's going to be with Victor Arvidsson, Mikael Granlund. And not only that, he has a good second-line center, or, 1A, 1B, in Ryan Johansson. So he's not the greatest defensive player, but the guy can play offense. He puts up goals. He shoots a bunch. He's going really, really late. His ADP right now is 118. That's like round 9 to 10. I would easily reach on him in the 8th round. And here's another question for you guys. In the 8th round, there's 3 other players there. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Clayton Keller, and Kyle Connor. Would you take Matt Duchene over any of those 3?
Depending on where I need to fill in my positions, because I could even see Matt Duchene dropping down further because people have already filled in that slot. Last year, I probably would have looked at a guy like Kyle Connor, but with where, even still, Kyle Connor is good because they still have their upfront players in Winnipeg. I feel like Keller's going to put up some good numbers this year. I feel like I'd probably want to go with Keller of those 3 because it's not that I don't trust Nuge. I like the center left wing, but I'd probably steer clear and go with Clayton Keller. He's going to be playing top-line minutes with top-line guys. And if he can play with Phil, watch him run because he's going to be the assist guy. Phil for 40 goals, 3 assists.
Sniper.
God.
I disagree with you there a little bit. Kyle Connor, I would take Kyle Connor over Matt Duchene. But I would take Matt Duchene over Clayton Keller. I would take him over Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. I think both those guys max out around 20, 25 goals. Clayton Keller was a great rookie last year. I think he's going to be a phenomenal player. He could prove me wrong, but I just think the position that Matt Duchene is in right now, I would take him a little earlier than that. And you're right. I would plan for taking Matt Duchene. So I would leave a center spot for him, and I would take wingers early on.
Another guy that we didn't touch on that I want to talk about for players that are going to make an impact that have been traded to a new team is Sergei Bobrovsky, another one of my keepers, but he really is an outstanding player. He's unbelievable wherever he goes. He's a guy that's only had one season where he's been under 500, and when he went to Columbus, they were nothing, as they usually are, but he goes to Columbus, he turns that team around, he wins the Vezina in his first year, and they don't even make the playoffs. Like, this guy has 2 Vezinas under his belt. He's got a couple Hart nominations. When he goes to Florida, he's playing for a team that's going to be up and coming too. So I see him as going in, probably being one of their number one guys, players on the team in general. But they're going to make a strong team down in Florida just because of Sergei Bobrovsky with his consistency. Age doesn't matter. He's only 30. He's a young guy for goalies. Goalies, look at fucking Tim Thomas taking his team to the Stanley Cup when he's 40. This guy, he's going to be playing in the league a long time, and if Florida's capable of keeping him on that big, long contract, he's going to make that a Stanley Cup contending team for a long time to come.
All right, let's wrap it up there. Those are the players that we are keeping an eye on who are on new teams this year, and that's going to end it for this episode. Next time, we're going to be back. We're going to be talking about wingers. That's the podcast. Thanks for listening.